Hey guys, what's going on? Welcome back to the Leading Edge Cricket Podcast. It's the Rob and Rich Show. We're back together at long last. Rich has been camping. Rich has been living it up, pitch invading, hopefully not headbutting Billy Sharp at the end of the Forest game, but got himself a trip to Wembley coming up. And all the excitement that's been going on around this England team is coming to fruition. The first test around New Zealand is right around the corner. And Rich, we have our first 13-man squad for the summer.
Exciting, mate. Yeah, nearly as exciting as seeing Forest get to Wembley last night. And I did not go on the hallowed turf at the City Ground. I do not do such things. Respect, but yeah, good fun. Great fun, mate. Yeah, 13-man squad. It's good that we've got it, isn't it? We expected it to be quite a tight squad. It's interesting that it's for the first two tests and not for the whole series. It gives them time to reassess, doesn't it? And I think if we had to just sum it up, our initial reactions of it, it was a little bit meh, a little bit... I don't want to say bland, but it was a safe squad, wasn't it? I think there's been a bit of frustration, hasn't there, with people? You know, one or two inclusions, one or two exclusions. But overall, yeah, I think it's a little bit underwhelming, a little bit safe even. And I just wonder if McCullum and others are just trying to be a little bit respectful of the setup, just to see where they go after that. But
yeah, and you don't know what you don't know on your first day in the job, right?
Exactly.
You've only seen some guys on TV. Yeah. You've not been covering everything in detail. You've not got your trusted people. I assume there's going to be trusted people in positions for scouting and things like that. I assume it's James Taylor still heavily involved probably in the scouting process and selection process possibly. And this is also probably the first time in a few years where we've had a 13-man squad rather than a 17-man bubble trying to fight COVID and all the things of that. So past squads might have been a little bit more exciting because there've been a broader range of players.
Yeah, that's true, actually. Yeah, I mean, we pretty much know what the starting 11 is going to be. When obviously when we get into the squad, we'll talk through that. But it is a much tighter squad. There's players that have missed out that we will all agree, I think, probably should have deserved an opportunity. Injuries, obviously, Rob, you'll be talking about that shortly, won't you? We've got an absolute ridiculous injury list, especially when it comes to seam bowlers with this setup at the moment. So that was pretty much, it almost picked itself, I think that didn't it? But I think I understand all the decisions they've made. I understand the rationale and the arguments behind them. Whether I agree with them all, that's a completely different thing. And certainly when we get onto the spinner position, I think we have to be careful, don't we? Because I think it seems like everybody, literally everybody, even people that don't even know cricket, suddenly just found themselves saying, Parkinson, what about Parkinson? I think he deserves to get an opportunity. But at the same time, Jack Leach doesn't necessarily deserve to be dropped. So it's a different one, isn't it? When we're looking at it in that way, we have to be fair to the ones they have selected. It's not, my God, they've picked the worst player ever. No, actually, they've picked someone that's been a really good servant for England over the last few years. So we have to be careful of how we do assess this first squad. But it is definitely, it wasn't as exciting as I thought it would be. Certainly when I started hearing what the likely 11 would be, I'm not as excited, let's say, as I would like to have been.
A lot of same, but new opportunities thrown into the mixture as well. 2 tests is a good call. I'll get a couple of tests, see what's in front of you, and then see what changes you're going to make from that. There's a whole bunch of players, Rich, and I think this is one of the incredible things about English cricket at the moment, for good and bad, because it showcases the immense amount of depth that we've got going on, even though our batting hasn't been great, but our bowling depth is absolutely insane. We have got the longest list of injured test bowlers that I can ever remember on record, mate.
Yeah, I'll settle in for a minute. You go ahead and tell him I'm just going to take 5.
Yeah, also, I just want to call out Rich currently wearing his Notts Forest top.
Nottingham.
Don't call them Notts Forest. And drinking out of a Derbyshire cup.
I'm doing that in respect for the fact that Derbyshire have had such a good start to the summer. I picked this up last year at the Royal London Cup. Very nice visit to Derbyshire to watch that second 11 competition as it is now. ECB, naughty boys. And yeah, why not? You know what I mean? They've made a great start to the summer. And I'm trying to channel a bit of positive energy for Notts, who will be playing Derbyshire this week. So
big game, that.
Reverse psychology.
Do it against the likes of Brody and Patterson as well. So injury list, right. Chris Woakes, shoulder, knee injuries, niggles, not fit to play, not played any first-class cricket. Mark Wood, elbow injury, had surgery, no ETA on his return. Jofra Archer, elbow injury, had surgery, no ETA on his return. Ollie Stone, stress fracture of the back, due back around the 100th time. Liam Norwell, who played Lions cricket and really impressed, concussion, out for a few weeks, no ETA on his return. Don't know if he's playing this week. Matthew Fisher, new one. Stress fracture of the back, out for the season. Saqib Mahmood, new one. Stress fracture of the back, out for the season. I am not on rinse and repeat here, but this is actually what's going on. Sam Curran, injured. Rehab underway, currently batting at 6 for Surrey and on a progress back to full strength and health, bowling-wise. Ollie Robinson, hampered by injuries throughout the winter, again, rehabbing in county cricket, trying to work his way back to playing enough cricket and bowling enough overs to be warranted in this England team. He's had it pretty rough this year. He's had toothache and food poisoning, which has also limited his bowling. Rich, that's 9 international bowlers over the last 2 years or so are out. That just doesn't happen, right?
Yeah, I mean, luckily, numbers 1 and 2 are fit. Because if numbers 1 and 2 is in that list, then you're barely putting out an international attack, are you? But somehow we're still able to do that. Ollie Robinson, is disappointing that he's not got himself fit yet. This is a huge opportunity for him to win over the new regime after a few question marks that might have been spoken about. You know, it's not fair on him yet. He needs to go and prove himself to the new setup, doesn't he? The heartbreakers for me, though, is Saqib Mahmood and Matt Fisher. Matt Fisher, I think, is promising player. I've not got into him as much yet because I've not seen him as much, but that's probably because of all the injuries he's had in his relatively young but quite long career to date. But Saqib Mahmood, someone I'm so excited about as a prospect. And this was the year, I thought this summer he's going to play and he, not just be selected in squads, but he's going to play Test match cricket at home for England and show the world and show us what he can do. That's a real tough one to take, that is, to see him. He's not going to be available. The opportunities are there now, though, aren't they? Those who are fit, if you are the last man standing, if you can bowl and you're taking a few wickets in county cricket and you've got a bit of gas and a bit of something about you, opportunities. It's a huge list, and I'm not even sure how many of those players will see more cricket this summer. I mean, you're optimistic about the likes of Archer and one or two others, but you just, with the way things have gone, you just think, yeah, sure, we'll see you in July, but it's probably not going to be July.
Yeah, it's incredibly sad that so many of them are finding themselves on the shelf. It's just very strange. Dan Lawrence is on the shelf as well as the only batsman that I'm putting on the injury shelf. He pulled a hammy first or second week of the county championship season. No cricket since then. Don't know. I haven't seen the Essex squad release for the game that starts Thursday morning UK time. I think it's the last round of county championship cricket for the T20 Blast as well. So good to get him a game if he wants to have a go when the third test rolls around. But that's unfortunate for him. He was okay during the West Indies tour. A big 97, threw it away at the end to avoid getting the jug in for the team. Rich, we'll break down the lineup. I mean, the way we're going to do this, we're going to walk it through. We're going to go openers, middle orders, pace bowlers, spinners, and so on and so forth.
So the squad, obviously, as we named, as we said, two test squad, wasn't it? So Stokes is captain, Ben Stokes, then it's Jimmy Anderson, Jonny Bairstow, Stuart Broad, Harry Brook of Yorkshire, 23-year-old, Zak Crawley of Kent, Ben Foakes, Jack Leach, Alex Lees, Craig Overton, Matty Potts, Matthew Potts, full name, Durham, the young seamer, 23-year-old again, Ollie Pope, and then ex-captain Joe Root. So that's your 13. And then, I think we want to break it down by position, really, don't we?
Openers, Rich. Alex Lees retains his spot at the top of the order after an okay performance, maybe. Okay performance in the West Indies. He averaged 21, a couple of 31s in the third test.
Yeah, we have to remember, don't we? We lose patience so quickly with openers, it seems, especially, Hasib Hamid, for example, gets brought back in, does pretty well, has a bit of a bad time. As we keep saying, little catchphrase, isn't it? Ashes was all his fault. It must be, because he felt like the only player that was dropped from it. Alex Lees did okay. He's a good player. He was the next cab off the rank. But he started this summer really well. I think he absolutely deserves to retain the spot. I think his partner, on the other hand, Mr. Crawley, Zak Crawley, I think they're betting on ability down the road, aren't they? But at some point, Crawley has to show some consistency. And I think he's pretty lucky, considering he can't buy a run this summer. Unless I have been away this weekend and off comms for a few days. So if he scored any runs the other day and I missed it, I apologise. But I'm pretty sure he didn't.
He didn't, unfortunately. 156 runs at an average of 19 this year. He's averaging 21.83 versus pace and 12.5 versus spin. Alex Lees, on the other hand, has started the season exceptionally. 4 matches, 490 runs, an average of 98, 118 against pace bowling, which has seen a lot of people bowling round the wicket, which Kamar Roach caused him problems with. And he's gone back to his old technique of batting almost outside off stump to the round the wicket stuff. That's working. He's averaging 67 against spin. So the Lees selection, 100% down with that. Great choice. So solidity. The guy's performing really well. Zak Crawley has fought off a lot of competition from a lot of openers, scoring a lot of runs this year, and they're showing faith in him. And I feel this was almost inevitable with a new regime coming in, and Crawley is an exciting cricketer, that he's got something that a lot of openers don't. The way he scores his runs, the fluency, the strike rate that he can go at, his ability to break down attacks. I think they want to see that and then make their own decisions based off it, rather than going, oh, actually, you're not quite up to scratch. And there's so much of saying it's not up to scratch. He averages 28 in Test cricket, Rich, 29 against pace, 27 against spin. Neither of those things are exceptional. And what we've seen generally is big score, nothing, big score, nothing. West Indies, big score at the start, and then nothing again.
Yeah, it's a tough one for him, isn't it? I think if he has been scoring more runs in county, I would park the issues he's had in Test cricket and try and look at it more balanced and think, okay, well, actually, it's a new regime coming in. Maybe, like we're going to get onto a certain Mr. Pope in a moment, maybe it's not all, it's not technical. The guys are quality players. They score runs. Crawley, not so much at the moment. But what's going on with them? Why can't they step into the Test arena and perform? What's stopping them? What's blocking them? It has to be something else. It has to be mental. It has to be, in the mind, doesn't it? So maybe the new regime will free people up. We'll give them a bit more ability to just express themselves as sportsmen, not recklessly, but just do it in the right way that brings out the finest in the performance. We spoke about positivity, didn't we, with McCullum coming in alongside Stokes. Everything you do, be positive. It doesn't mean smacking the ball everywhere. It means be positive in defence, be positive in everything. Maybe that helps the likes of Crawley. But I still think he's a very lucky man to retain his spot in the squad, and his place in the 11, because obviously he will be opening that first Test as well.
Yeah, he definitely will. Moving on to the number 3 hole, Rich, and this has been called out by Rob Key, going, Ollie Pope is batting at 3 for England. What's your hot take on that?
Well, I hope Rob Key's had a conversation with the coach and captain before he's told everyone that Ollie Pope's batting at 3. But it's an interesting one. You made a good point on Twitter, didn't you, earlier in the day, just saying about how maybe this might help him. This might loosen him up again. We speak about it being in the mind again, don't we? I don't know. It's my answer. I'm waffling around a little bit because it's just one of those where he's the best player in county cricket who plays week in, week out. Forget about Root or Stokes or whatever. He's the best player by far. But he just can't do it for England at the moment. He's so talented. You look at what he is. He's a fantastic player, but you look at what he does and it's not there. So they clearly, again, like Crawley, they're looking at a player and going, this guy has talent. We're betting long that this guy is going to be the player for years to come. And, it's that hoping for self-fulfilling prophecy, isn't it? It's like, if I keep backing him enough, he will be good. But why do some of these players deserve all these opportunities? I think people will be asking. And maybe it's because he keeps churning runs out left, right and centre in county cricket. So he does deserve the opportunity and do it longer. But is he a number 3? I mean, we don't want to open a can of worms again. But if Joe Root had just batted 3, we have got a jam of players queuing up round the block, haven't we? That could bat at 4 and 5 and 6 if you want them to. But we don't really have those options that are obvious options at 3, unless you do say, well, there's Tom Abel, there's Josh Bohannon, there's James Racey, there's James Vince. So maybe we do have the options. I think Pope's another one. I think he's quite lucky. I think let's summarise on that one. But I understand the rationale behind the selection.
There's such a crossover to Ian Bell with Ollie Pope. Whenever you talk about him, whenever you look at him, there is huge crossover. Bell was someone who was capable of moving from middle order to batting at 3 quite successfully for England. Scored 2 centuries, 13 50s, 1,748 runs, an average of 38 at number 3. If Pope averaged 38 at number 3, we've got a number 3 for many years to come. Really.
Hallelujah.
I did put a tweet out because there was a lot of negativity around Pope being at 3, and I was like, why would they do that? And when you break down how he does in Test match cricket, his average versus pace isn't bad, but his average versus spin is woeful. And if you're coming in at 5 and 6, and yes, they've had a hard run against teams like India and Nathan Lyon and people like that, you're going to struggle to get going against things you're not quite as good at. He's exceptional against pace. He's exceptional against pace in county cricket. He averages over 40 in the first 20 overs of an innings in the last 4 years for county cricket. So if you look at those, you can kind of go, oh yeah, so you're trying to accentuate his positives and negate a bit of the negatives and issues that he might have going on. He hasn't got out to spin this year, interestingly enough, out his 417 runs, averaging over 60 against pace. So, I'm all in on trying it. And if I'm Brendan McCullum, I'll go, I've got Zak Crawley, I've got Ollie Pope, I've got these two next generational players for England that we think are going to be big. I want to see them in the flesh. Why not? Why not? I mean, it's 2 test matches. If after 2 test matches or the New Zealand series, you look at it and you go, they're not quite ready, then at least you've learnt firsthand what you've got. And they know they're still part of the conversation and you want to enhance them to play in these roles.
Yeah, I think you're completely in agreement with all of that. Really exciting young players, they have to find a level of consistency. It's as simple as that. And if you're batting 2 or 3, we can't have a situation where Joe Root is still coming in 2 down for not many on the board. You may as well have him at 3 if that's the case. So this is a huge opportunity for Pope. And I worry that on the first morning of the first test against New Zealand, they get a good one. New Zealand are bowling, we're 1 down early. Pope's not going to come in feeling free, is he? He's going to come in feeling a lot of pressure, thinking, I cannot get Joe Root in here straight away. It can't be 20 for 2. So I just worry about how he's going to react. Fingers crossed, him and Crawley both show a new level of consistency to go alongside and hold off some of these other players that are absolutely kicking and banging the door down, who will be very frustrated they haven't been selected, like Bohannon. Abel probably maybe wasn't expecting as much, but he's somebody I thought would have been a nice shout to slot in at 3, a nice experienced player.
He probably let himself down a little bit. He's not had many batting opportunities, and other than that 200, he hasn't really scored any runs. The thing that I struggle with Pope at 3 is he plays like a middle order player. He goes at a strike rate of about 70. And, you do see him playing outside off on balls that he does need to be leaving. And we saw him shuffle around his technique and his feet so he could leave that 4th stump ball, but then ended up playing at the 6th stump ball. So it's, you just hope there's good people around him and the coaching is going to be different to what it's been previously to get the best out of him. Someone who I think it's really interesting here because he started the season red hot. Joe Root at 4, Rich. He's averaging 75. He's already got a big 100 against Jimmy Anderson before getting cleaned up this past week. Moves down to the 4 hole. What do you expect from Joe Root now he's not captain? Do you expect the same level of performance? Because that level of performance the last 18 months is out of this world.
Yeah, I don't. I'll be honest. The captaincy in part and what I expect performance, they're not necessarily linked. I don't think in my mind. I don't think you can sustain that level of form that he showed over the last 12 months. However, if the captaincy being passed on frees him up, it would make sense that you would see an improvement in performance. But then how on earth do you see an improvement in performance? So we're going to go in that little circle, aren't we? Which I can't quite work out how it's going to go. I would expect getting there somewhere near the same, but maybe not quite the same level of consistency. But still an exceptional performer. And just lock him in, move on to the next one.
There's not a lot you can say about Root. He's exceptional. 21% of all matches he scores 100 in. That's more than double better than anyone else in this England team. Which takes us on to number 5, who is averaging 10% of his hundreds coming every 5 matches, pretty much. One every 10 match. Jonny Bairstow / Harry Brook at 5.
Yeah, I mean, it sounds like Bairstow's going to get the nod, doesn't it? I mean, it's a little bit strange considering he's not really played. Well, when I say really, he hasn't played red ball cricket so far this summer. He's been with the IPL, hasn't he? So we give a little bit of stick to the likes of
Butler,
Kent. But I'll be honest, I've moved past Butler. I don't think he's part of the conversation anymore. But our dear friend in Kent, the Wicketkeeper, Sam Billings, that he's gone over there rather than pushing himself. Bairstow is in command of this position, so he has more freedom. But you could make an argument that maybe Bairstow should have been back by now. Just play maybe 1 4-day game before he gets involved in the first test. However, he isn't, and he is locked in as it seems. Fine, I've got no problem with that. I wanted him at 6, but because Stokes is moving down to 6, spoiler alert if you haven't already heard, then I'm absolutely fine with Bairstow. Bairstow's not the conversation for me. It's Brook the conversation. Harry Brook, 23-year-old, has gone off like an absolute train this summer. He's been incredible. He looked stunning against Lancashire, going off at probably like 150 strike rate. A certain Matt Parkinson ended that very, very promising innings, which did frustrate 1 or 2 people. And that's probably why he's not at 3. is Mr. Brook. Maybe a little bit too promising, but the guy is seeing it like an absolute volleyball, beach ball, basketball, whatever you want to call it. Bairstow, I understand it, but Brook, this is what I was saying earlier about I want to be a bit more excited about this team. I wanted to find a way to get Harry Brook in this team.
We haven't had many times in our life where you've got a guy who, in theory, could be on course. If he has a huge week, Rich, he could hit 1,000 runs before the end of May. Like, he's not far off. 758 runs, an average of 151, 3 centuries. He's averaging 125 versus pace and 258 versus spin. New Zealand generally don't have a very good spinner. I feel he's great for this England team. Jonny Bairstow, on the other hand, has done nothing to warrant being dropped. His performance in the Ashes was exceptional. His performance in the West Indies was exceptional. It's almost the best of Bairstow we've seen since 2016 before he became white ball Jonny Bairstow and one of the best white ball players on the planet. So, great for England no matter what he's doing. Bairstow's averages are really interesting in Test cricket. He averages 30 against pace, but 44.45 against spin in his career. And he's a bit like that in one-day cricket. He's exceptional against spin, scores at a huge rate. If it was me, I'd love to see Brook, but I don't think Bairstow should be dropped.
No.
And I think with going with Crawley and Pope, I almost feel you do need Root, Bairstow, Stokes at 4, 5 and 6. It feels a little like if we go Crawley, Pope and Brook. And it's not saying they're going to get out for nothing. It's just a little inexperienced at this level. But I do want to see Brook this summer in the lineup doing something. To me, the only way Brook plays at 5 is if Foakes isn't fit and Bairstow takes the gloves at 7.
Yeah, I mean, I was going to say the only way I can see it at the moment, not thinking of the keeper, really, is if Root goes at 3 and then you open up that middle order spot and then someone like Brook or Pope, but Brook, preferably in my eyes, would have slotted into that role and had the opportunity, had his first opportunity, and that's probably an important point, isn't it? When you look at players like Crawley and Pope, and we're on to the, I don't know what opportunities are on to at the moment. It's not to say they're not great cricketers, great, really talented young cricketers, but we've already gone through probably one hand of opportunities for someone like an Ollie Pope, haven't we?
Yeah.
So totally agree with the lineup, and Stokes at 6, I totally understand as well. I think that's fine for him. And again, I mean, he's started the summer a little bit late, hadn't he? Got announced as captain around the same time as he went absolutely berserk with the bat. He's not quite done it with the ball this summer, has he yet? But it's good to see him getting some overs under his belt. No signs of any issues, reoccurrences of any injuries. And we just hope that he kind of looks after himself a little bit with the ball when it comes to Test matches now.
Stay fit. I think that's what the move to 6 is about. A bit of recuperation. Hopefully 5 players above him bat some time and he's not batting in the first 20 overs. Touch wood. I know we've not seen much in the last 18 months. Interesting, Ben Stokes' averages. He averaged 38 against pace in Test cricket. Career average of 35. Averages 33 versus spin, but he has batted in the first 20 overs and averages 24 during that time. But if Ben Stokes is batting in the first 20 overs, you're probably normally already 3 or 4 wickets down.
Yeah.
Number 7 with the gloves, unless something happens with Bairstow or an injury, it's going to be Ben Foakes. And I know you're feeling very good about this selection.
Yeah, I just don't. We've said it a few times, and it's that phrase: "Don't overthink it." Ben Foakes is batting really, really well. He's a top 6 batsman, top 5 batsman if you take his position at Surrey. He's consistent with the bat. He's an undervalued and underrated batsman. I don't think you're losing a lot with him with the gloves. He's a better keeper in a lot of ways than some of his some of the other keepers who are options.
Yeah,
and he's an equally good batsman. And I think potentially, if he gets a run of games, he could have a sort of a career. Maybe not. Well, it could be as long as career as Bairstow, but that sort of output as Bairstow if you give him an opportunity, and it's going to be from 7 rather than 6 or 5, isn't it? So it's the right call in my opinion, and this squad is balanced because it does have Bairstow in there, that if there is any issues with Foakes, you've got the cover at Wicketkeeper and then Brook comes in, so it's a nicely balanced squad in that respect. He deserves the opportunity. He deserves not just the opportunity now, he deserves a run of games. Stop messing about, give him a run of games.
He does. He's got to be a keeper for the summer essentially. He averages 28 with the bat in Test cricket at the moment. Scored a century on debut. That's hard to remember because it's so long ago since he played those initial games.
Sri Lanka.
Interesting record. He only averages 20 against pace, but 34.50 against spin, but has started the county championship season red hot. 395 runs at an average of 98.75, batting in the top six as well, which I like to see. Taking a step up there. He might have played there a little bit longer than that, but number one gloveman in the country. Stay with it. You know what? If he averages anything above 31, it's going to be better than Butler. So let's wait and see what we get out of him. Into the bowlers, Rich. We're going to touch on the seam bowlers to start with, and I know we've just listed off.
Yeah, save the best till last.
8 or 9. Yeah, we'll save the spinner conversation till last. 8 or 9 seam bowlers that's not available. But we do see, I'm going to start with them, Broad and Anderson back into this team. And Rob Key sat down on Sky Sports cricket show, podcast, whatever we want to call it, with Nasser Hussain and said, first thing Ben, he doesn't talk like that either. First thing Ben Stokes said to me, brother, he's not Hulk Hogan, was Broad and Anderson back in this team. Almost like he wanted to fight. And Rob Key was like, yeah, right.
Yeah, it's fine. It's fine. Yeah. I love that from Stokes. And I love the fact that he's not worrying about, his relationship with Root and the respect he would have had as Root as captain. It's like, no, I'm the captain now. I'm my own man. I want Jimmy and Broady back. I never wanted them gone in the first place. But that's how it seems anyway, doesn't it? So we're going to move on from that whole conversation of what, them not being in the team. We'll pretend it never happened. That's how I'm going to deal with it going forward. It's perfectly good decisions. Jimmy and Broady, they have to be in there. Broad's played a bit of cricket so far this summer for Notts, as has Anderson for Lancashire. I think Lancashire's Anderson's probably done a little bit better in the wickets column, perhaps, without looking at the stats. But they have to be there. I think Broad is a little bit undervalued. He's another one of them players where I don't think we quite appreciate him enough. I do often see people listing off teams. Yeah, and I see people where Anderson's in there, but Broad isn't. And that happens too much for me. And I don't understand. I need people to explain to me why Stuart Broad isn't nearly as valued as equally as Jimmy Anderson.
537 wickets, Rich, and undervalued. How does that happen?
I genuinely don't understand. I really, really don't understand. So I'm delighted that they're both in there. It anchors that bowling attack. It gives experience to the attack. I'd rather bring players in with them than drop them and force people to take the lead in a sort of a false position in the team. So get them in, play them both. And I think Rob Key was talking about he wants, this is exactly the right mentality to have. He wants to have them at the peak of their powers for as long as possible, rather than rest, rotate, and drag out their careers to a point where they're playing longer, but they're not really at the peak of their powers anymore.
Yeah, exactly. You waste that time.
Yeah, we don't need 45-year-old Jimmy Anderson trundling in, bowling 65 mile an hour. We want them as good as they can be for as long as they can be, and then go out like a ball of fire, basically, rather than smolder out.
Yeah. I think 2 solid choices. You haven't got many options, let's be honest, because 9 players are out injured.
I'm unavailable.
This feels like the right option. And the thing that these 2 give you is if it's not going well, if it's a road, if they're 2, they give you control and they go at 2 and over. And there's some stats about Stuart Broad, and if I can find the article, I will get it. I think Ollie tweeted me about it, and it was about movement. And there was a chart going, Jimmy swings it the most for English bowlers, from Jofra Archer starting to when he got injured. Jimmy swung it the most throughout the 80 overs. Broad had the most seam movement. Seam movement is invaluable during those middle overs. If you can nip it around, pick up a few wickets, and Broad can get on a roll like we've seen before. 8 for 15 at Trent Bridge, Rich. It's something
good day.
Very, very special for this England team. And also, if you're the opposition and there's Broad and Anderson, you're in for a fight from the first ball. 2 of the 100%. Finest operators with a new ball in England. The number 8 hole is going to Craig Overton. Yeah,
it's a difficult one because we have to. This is another one of those conversations where we have to kind of compartmentalise it a little bit. Right, we've got 8 or 9 players out injured. Craig Overton, therefore, absolutely 100% deserves to be involved in this. If those other players were fit, then no, Craig Overton probably wouldn't be in there because I don't think he's quite shown enough whilst playing for England. Back in county last summer, just about leading wicket taker, him and Ollie Robinson. This summer, he's just about leading wicket taker again, isn't he, Craig Overton? He's up there at the very least. Yeah, somebody else is probably ahead of him that we'll talk about in a moment. But Overton also gives you that little bit extra with the bat. And I say little bit extra because I don't think he gives you a hell of a lot more than some of these other players in the lineup. Broad, for example. But when you look at the bowlers, this is probably the weakest batting bowling attack we'll have had for quite some time, I'd say.
Yeah, it will be. Overton is good. Overton is going to be good in England as well. He bowls just fast enough in England to be good enough. 22 wickets at 16 this year, Rich. He took shed load last year at 16. He's one of those guys, a bit like Ollie Robinson for 4 or 5 years, head and shoulders above the other players doing it. And he's doing this in a batting year. We've spoken about it. County Championship average, 3-year rolling average is about 31. Maybe for the lineup. At the moment, teams are averaging 41 this year. It's the most runs being scored by batsmen in 20 years, and he's got 22 wickets at 16. So that's a fine effort, and it's also a good opportunity for him as well. Playing with Broad and Anderson, where there's a lot of experience, a lot of support, a lot of people to talk about how you're working out batsmen, and a position where there's no Woakes, there's no Curran, none of these players who could potentially play in that 8 slot. And a chance to really nail it down for himself and get some confidence. Man. Let's get a grey, overcast condition. Let's get you a fifer and get you up and running in Test match cricket.
Well, that's it. Let's see County Championship Craig Overton. And that's the only reason I'm kind of hesitant with him as an England player, is because I've not seen him for England. If he can perform like he does in county cricket and get the reward that he gets in county cricket, then absolutely. Let's get him in there. Let's enjoy it. But again, with this squad, it's like I said earlier, I wanted to be a little bit more excited. But with Brook probably carrying drinks, the next man you're about to come on to is also probably going to be carrying drinks. And they're the 2 players in this squad I want to see.
Yeah. That's it. Let's move on to him. Backup seam bowler, Matty Potts.
Steaming in, Matty Potts, who I don't know why, but I've twice forgot him on England Watch. I think Durham must have just come and got a couple of overs late in the day, having a bowl at the openers. And I've just missed it. It's not because I don't think he should be anywhere near England team. He should absolutely. We're very excited about him. We have been all summer, basically, haven't we, since first week of the season. Really pleased that he's got the recognition and he got the call up. But I'm a little bit disappointed that it does sound like he might miss out. However, obviously, we have the question of the spinner. It's always the question, do they go with Jack Leach? I don't think there's been a spinner that's been in so many squads and not played. When we've gone with no spinners, basically, is Jack Leach, who is, getting ahead, but he's the other bowler in the squad. But I would have loved to have seen Potts. He's aggressive. He's got good pace. He takes wickets. He gets good players out. He's got a lot about him. I just love he's got a bit of niggle about him as well, hasn't he? Which I think every young fast bowler should have.
Takes plenty of wickets. That's the key takeout for me. And you mentioned quick enough, and there hasn't been a speed gun on show at Durham, this year, which has been a little bit unfortunate. But Crick Ollie was saying on Twitter, and I went back and had a look at some of the things. It was bowling about 86 in the 100 last year, which I know is a different format. You're bowling 20 balls across 2 or 4 sets, depending how you want to talk about it. And he topped out at about 90. So he's probably going to be bowling 85, 86 throughout the day. If that's the case, you're getting an upgrade on speed for what you're getting with an Overton, a Woakes, a Robinson. And that makes it a really exciting deal for England fans going forward because, Jimmy isn't as quick as he used to be. But I think Jimmy's still got gas in the tank. Jimmy is exceptional at finding the right speed to bowl on the right day to maximise the movement. Broady isn't as quick as he used to be and probably be about 82. So if you've got something just with a little bit more gas, considering all the fast bowlers we've got around injured, it's a really good thing. I think it's a great selection. 35 wickets at 18 this year, 4 fifers. I think we were saying he took 7 for in the last game to force a result on day 4. It comes down to Brook. Brook, it's the right time to pick someone the best they've ever been, and we know they're going to be good. Matty Potts, we know they're going to be good, and he's at the peak of his powers at the moment for what he's been able to achieve in county cricket. So it's the right time, right player to come in. Wouldn't surprise me if he has a test. And I think that's why they might have done the 2 test match thing. 1, to see who's back bowler-wise to rest Broad and Anderson from 3 test matches. But 2, bring in the likes of Matty Potts for maybe the 3rd test.
Yeah, I hope he gets the opportunity, and I hope Brook gets the opportunity. I think it's as simple as that. I think they deserve it. If we're going to put any weight into county performances, then those boys deserve to pull on the shirt at some point in this series and show what they can do. And I think we need to open this squad up a little bit, don't we? This is where opportunity presents itself. Potts has basically seen that and just been firing so far. Deserves a chance. Brook, if you can't reward a guy that's averaging 151 and 700 odd runs by middle of May, then there's something going wrong, isn't it? Especially when we don't have England batsmen averaging over 30 in Lord knows how long. So get them in. It's ridiculous. But that's done. Let's wrap it up, Rob, with the last position. This is what's got everyone talking, isn't it? And Jack Leach. It's Jack Leach. I'll count it like, I'll open it up if that's okay, just to say, let's not criticise Jack Leach because Parkinson wasn't picked. Jack Leach is doing nothing wrong. Jack Leach is doing what Jack Leach always does. He's steady. He has control. He's got the old night watchman in him, hasn't he? It's just that thing, isn't it? It's Jack Leach. You love him, but it's Jack. You're good, Jack. You're really good, Jack. We like Jack, but you're not Matt.
Yeah.
And that's the shared view, isn't it? You're not Matt Parkinson. And I think people are just gagging now to see what Matt Parkinson can do in an England shirt in Test matches.
Yeah, we've not been in a position where we've had a really exciting spinner for a long time. I did the County pod on Monday,
so long.
And I spoke about Matt Parkinson. I said, there's nothing wrong with Jack Leach. 79 wickets, an average of 31. He got pummeled in Australia, but he came back strong. He bowled superbly on decks, where we declared 3 times in 2 Test matches it was that flat. He bowled brilliant and went at less than 2 and over. 11 wickets at an average of 30. He's done nothing wrong to deserve to be dropped. All I'm looking at it is going, you've got Jack Leach, whose ceiling is this. And at the moment, we've got an exciting young leg spinner who, one, has sneaky good control in county cricket.
Yes.
He takes a load of wickets. Second leading wicket taker in Division 1. Number 1's Hassan Ali. What you're seeing is top bowlers taking wickets this year. It's not your trundlers, it's the top bowlers. He's the top bowler. And his ceiling's just higher. And you want to see that in Test match cricket. You've just watched him play against Yorkshire. You saw him bamboozle Harry Brook when Harry Brook was hitting it like a beach ball. And you get that from Parkinson. You get these unplayable deliveries that get wickets. There is a critique of him going around that he doesn't bowl it fast enough. There's not enough zip. Generally, you see leg spinners zip it through a little bit more. He's generally bowling at 40, 45 mile an hour. Whatever it's doing, it's working for him. And at some point, we're going to have to see it.
Yeah.
Not sure when that's going to be. But also, talking about Leach in the West Indies, Leach was part of that rear guard with Saqib Mahmood, where they went and scored like 100 for the last wicket as well. So Jack Leach is a over my dead body, limited ability, but that's not being condescending because he's an international cricketer. But God, he makes the most of it. And sure, he's had a rough time at times, and sure, he's not been believed in at times, but he's still going and he's still performing pretty damn good.
Yeah, and he must feel a little bit from the outside that a lot of people, the public, would like to see somebody else instead of him. Yeah. But he will still bowl you 30 overs in the innings if you need him to. He'll still give you good control. He'll still pick up some good wickets, and he will still do absolutely all he can with a bat. Like you said, it's not been disrespectful to say he's a limited batsman. He is. He's got a few shots, and he knows what he can do with them. He's not going to destroy an attack. He's not going to suddenly smash a 50 like Broady could do down the order. But he'll do what he can do. And we need to appreciate him. And I don't think I quite appreciate him enough because I'm also one of those people that wants to see Parkinson. But it's not because I don't appreciate Leach. I need to kind of be clear on that to myself as well as you guys.
Yeah.
But we've got, like you said, we have to see Parkinson at some point. We're getting impatient. He's not a kid. He's not a 21-year-old leg spinner. He's pushing 25 now, isn't he?
Yeah.
Please tell me. Yeah. He's... When, if not now, it's getting as simple as that. This is a new regime, new setup, new captain, new coach, soon to be new selectors. We've got a new white ball coach that's just arrived that we'll talk about soon, but probably not today. Whole new setup. This is the time to try new things. Maybe not the first test, but we've got to try it soon. I totally agree with everybody saying, "Where's Parkinson?" It's a strange one.
You've got to have those conversations. So we've got 3 test matches, Rich. First one at Lord's starting June 2nd, then off to Trent Bridge, and then finishing at Headingley. Before we finish off, we did ask for some hot takes on Twitter, and was like, what are people thinking about this England squad? And I'll put it up on screen, but to summarise it, Neil put in capitals, to make sure you're listening, Parkinson, 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 Parkinson. Alex Bishop put no Bohannon or Parkinson. Close your eyes, can't see monkey emoji. Jim Dale, Zak Crawley is blackmailing someone, somewhere about something. Simon Mark Powell, Parkinson. Anas, I don't understand why Parkinson is not being picked. Also curious about Pope and Bairstow in the lineup. So they're just themes. Yeah. There's just things going on in English cricket that we've got something young, good and exciting. And you know for a fact, if it was in a different country, and they had someone taking this amount of wickets as a spinner, they probably would have been called up.
No probablys that have been playing for the last year. I think you got to kind of try and hit one out of the park, haven't you? I don't know the baseball vernaculars, but are we trying to hit instead of hitting double? I don't know, whatever it is.
Home runs.
We need to try and smack it out of the park, basically. And I think that's the Parkinson selection versus the Leach, which is the safe. Just know what you're going to get selection.
Yeah,
neither's correct at the moment, but we all want to see Parky at some point.
We definitely do. So. Let us know in the comments below what you guys think about this squad selection, whether it's good or bad, whether you're optimistic for the future or whether you think it's falling on the conservative lines. But either way, it is going to be an exciting 3 test match series. We spoke about the Black Caps. We'll do a preview just before the first test is ready to roll. We'll talk through that Black Caps team who's batting, and I've touched on, isn't as great as what you might think it is. And Henry Nicholls is already back in New Zealand as well. So big opportunities for some bowlers to take some wickets. And depending on what's going on with the IPL, potentially some of their bowlers won't be available that first test. But thank you so much for listening, everyone. I hope you've enjoyed it. We'll be back next week. County Championship Round 7 review, the last one before we get into the T20 Blast. We'll be doing England Watch, where we're actually creating a depth chart around English pace bowlers, most of which probably on the injury bench. So we'll catch you then. Till next time.